Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex. Today's yoga session is going to be a shorter one dedicated for people with scoliosis or even for those with spinal fusion for scoliosis. So it will be a shorter session and we will be focusing on opening up the body a little. So it's perfect for the morning or moments when you feel that your body is a bit stiffer. And you might want to grab a couple of blocks. That's always just an option. And if you have a longer yoga belt, I do suggest you grab that as well. We will use it at the end of the session, but don't worry if you don't have one. It works perfectly fine without as well. If you do have one, put it at the back of your mat and your blocks at the top of your mat. Let's get into it. We're gonna start in child's pose. So onto your knees, distance them a little. Connect your big toes, and we're gonna come down with our forehead on the mat. And at the beginning, we're just gonna stay here and ground ourselves. So you can relax your elbows down. No need to press your hands towards the mat. Just try to relax your whole body for a moment. Start breathing through your nose naturally. And maybe you're already starting to notice some sensation in your back. So maybe taking a moment just to kind of feel into your body. What do you find? I'm going to start to become a bit more aware of the breath. And from here, pressing your hands down, lengthening your arms forward, shoulder width apart. But then from here, we're gonna kind of slide the shoulder blades down towards the sacred bone, even if your arms are extended. Externally rotating your arms, meaning that your elbows are trying to point down. And we're gonna start to deepen the breath. And see if we can direct it towards the back. And maybe before you felt your belly and your chest expand as you inhaled. Now we'll try to feel some space in the back instead. And as you are here, breathing into the back body. Do you feel one side of your body expand more than the other? Can you feel where the air flows as you breathe in? Now, depending on your curvature, whether you fuse or not, you want to try to breathe into all those places that are concave. So if you have a right thoracolumbar or right thoracic and left lumbar curve, Try to breathe into the left side of your back, so the left side of your rib cage. And in that case, you might even want to rise up onto your left fingertips, kind of creating a small micro rotation in the upper back, lifting the left side of the upper back a bit more than the right. Now, if you have a left lumbar curve, see if you can breathe into the right side of your waist. It might feel a bit funny since we don't have lungs there. But quite soon you'll notice that it's still possible to actually create space there by using the breath. Make sure that your right hip is pulled back with the left lumbar curve. So one last breath here. And then exhale, come back down onto the palm of your left hand if you lifted the palm off the mat. We're gonna inhale to lift the gaze. Now taking the right hand, the back of the hand, underneath the left armpit and kind of just sliding the hand all the way to the left. We're not gonna create a twist here. We're gonna open up the right shoulder blade. So just turn the head to the left. So the right side of the head can come down onto the mat. Keep opening up the left side of the body. If you have that upper right curve or a thoracolumbar curve to the right. You might choose to come up onto your fingertips again to create even more space. Breathing into the left rib cage or the right waist if you have that lower left lumbar curve. Now, if you only have a lower curve from here, lift your gaze and come back to where you were before. Just a centered child's pose, reaching forward. If you have a right thoracolumbar, right thoracic in your spine, curve in your spine, bring the right hand to the outside of the mat and bring the left hand with you. You can place it next to the right hand onto the fingertips here. Bow your head down. It probably won't reach the mat, and that's perfectly fine. Keep both of your hips back. Try to side bend to the right here from your rib cage, from the apex of your curve. At the same time, you're reaching here and you're trying to lift the left rib cage a bit more than the right side of the rib cage to create that derotation in the upper back. So even with spinal fusion, we can do this to some extent. Just like in my case right here. And we can't really side bend completely, but we can still move and open up things that are surrounding the spine. And using the breath to open up the concave side of the curves that are left after spinal fusion is a great way to expand and create space in the body. Now as you inhale, lift your gaze. If you're side bending here, come back to center. And we're gonna open up the left shoulder blade as well. So bringing the top of the left hand here underneath the right arm, slide it all the way to the right, placing the left side of the head down. And maybe on this side, we're not really reaching as far with the right arm. Notice the differences between the two shoulder blades, between this side and the other side. Still breathing deeply. And as you inhale, lift your gaze, come back to center. And we're gonna walk the hands back, sit on top of the heels. You can connect the knees. So you're welcome to place a block, a blanket, or anything else between your hips and your ankles if this is too tight for your quadriceps. We're just gonna bring the hands behind us, interlacing the fingers. Rolling the shoulders back and inhale to open up the chest slightly. Maybe lifting the gaze. So we're not really squeezing the shoulder blades together. We are more thinking, or we're thinking about lowering the shoulders down and keep that micro bend in your elbows so you're not hyperextending the joints. Now to localize the openness, or the opening in the chest, draw your navel in. Every time you breathe, lift your chest a bit higher. And make sure that you're not rolling onto one hip. So if you have that left lumbar, it could be easy to want to roll onto the left hip, or left glute I mean. Try to stay centered. And reaching your back tall as you open the chest. And for us with spinal fusion, we are mostly working the shoulders here and maybe some thoracic vertebrae that aren't fused. Now we're gonna come back to a more neutral spine and bring both of our hands with our fingers still interlaced onto the right waist. Bring the elbow back, relax the shoulder, and then relax the head towards the right shoulder. We're just opening up the neck. So we're only relaxing the head here without pulling or pushing. We have a lot of muscles in the neck. And it's a place where a lot of us with scoliosis and spinal fusion accumulate tension. Now you can just stay here in stillness and breathe. Don't forget to breathe deeply and with awareness. But you can also choose to start moving your head slightly, as if you were to say no. So turning the ear towards the shoulder and then the face. And then if you find a spot that is a bit more sensible, where you find a bit more tension, you can choose to stay there. And then lift your head up to center. Lengthen your arms back and down. And then exhale, bring both of your hands here to the left waist. Elbow back, relax the shoulder, and relax the head towards the left shoulder. We're gonna stay here in stillness for a moment before starting to move the head. And so if you wanted to start turning the face towards the shoulder and then the ear, you can start doing that. So feeling into the whole area of your neck, the right side of the neck and the shoulder here. Is there more tension in a particular spot? Then maybe stay there for the last breaths. Kind of going against what's uncomfortable. Trying to relax into it, breathing into it. But also making sure that it's not too much. We want to find that spot or that edge where there is something, or we have something to work with, but it's not too much. So gently bring your head back up to center. Reach your arms one last time back and down. And then exhale, release your hands in front of you. From here we're going to enter a tabletop position. Make sure that your wrists are underneath your shoulders, your knees are underneath your hips. And we're going to start by reaching the right foot back. You might want to turn the left foot a bit to the outside here and turning the right heel to the left and reaching the right arm all the way up to the ceiling. Now you can choose to just hang out here. Or you can lift the left leg up off the mat. Now if you do this and you have a left lumbar curve, meaning that this side, the right waist here is shortened, is concave, place the right hand here on top of the hip and kind of move the hip back towards the back of the mat. And you'll see that your leg, just like mine did now, will lower itself. Now by keeping your hip back, just lift your leg up again. Notice the difference. And then you can either just keep your hand here onto the hip or reach it up again. And we're gonna bring the right foot to the top of the mat from here. So bending the leg, grabbing a hold of the thigh, the knee, the shin, the foot, and bringing the foot forward. Now this is where you might want to use your blocks underneath your hands. So here, make sure that the knee is stacked above the ankle, doesn't go in front of it. Walk the left knee as far back as you can. Relax the top of the foot down and avoid dropping the head down. Keep breathing deeply. And as you stay aware of everything that you're feeling in the body, all those places where there is discomfort and tension, see if you can relax into it. Notice how it makes you feel emotionally as well. If there are any particular thoughts popping up in your mind at the moment. And whatever you find, it's okay, it's all valid. All we do here is to observe and try not to drift away with the thoughts and the feelings that we find. One last breath. And then starting to press the right foot down so that you can shift the weight of your hips slightly behind you, slightly back from where they are now. And then inhale, reach all the way up with your arms. Draw the navel in. And exhale, relax the shoulders down, even if your arms are extended. Now you can place a blanket underneath the left knee if it's uncomfortable there. And we want to find that balance between lengthening the left psoas here, the left hip flexor, and engaging the front core. So avoiding just bringing the belly forward or throwing the back forward. We want to have some alignment here. Next, exhale, interlace your fingers, and inhale, reach all the way up. Now, if you have a right thoracic or right thoracolumbar curve, inhale, reach long again, reach tall, and exhale, side bend a little bit to the right. Maybe turning to up with the chest a little bit up to the left side here. Just make sure that you're opening up from the ribs and not from the waist. Breathe into the left side body, into those left ribs. And then inhale, reach all the way up to center. Exhale, hands come back down onto the mat or onto the blocks. Bring the right leg back. You can rest in child's pose for a moment. Catch your breath if you need to. And then come up into a tabletop position again. Find your alignment. Then reach the left leg back, maybe turning the right foot to the right, left heel to the right, and then inhale all the way up with the left arm. Now, to open up the right waist here, we're gonna lift the hip, the left hip here. So you might notice the difference here. And if you have that upper right curve, reach the left arm overhead, palm facing down, and then inhale, turn the chest slightly more up towards the ceiling. Again, you can choose to hang out here, or if you lifted the leg on the other side, maybe try to do that here as well. And the foot should be not higher up than hip height. Imagine that you have a wall behind you that you're pushing back with the sole of the foot. One more breath. And then we're gonna bend the leg, grab a hold of whatever you can find here with your hand, and bring the foot to the top of the mat, entering Anjaneyasana. Align the knee with the ankle and walk the right knee back. Again, maybe you want to take that blanket underneath the knee already. Maybe you want to use the blocks underneath the hands. And then just focusing on staying here, dropping the hips down, trying to relax into all those places where there is tension. Staying aware with what is uncomfortable. Many times this is the harder side, the side with less space in the body. But it all depends on your curves. And make sure you're not clenching your jaw here, squeezing your teeth, or holding on to tension somewhere else in the body. Sometimes we have that as a reaction when something is uncomfortable. Then start to press the left foot down onto the mat. Shift the weight of your hips gently, slightly behind where they are now. And inhale, reach all the way up. Lengthen your spine, and exhale, draw the shoulder blades down, draw the navel in. Interlace your fingers and inhale, reach all the way up. Now only if you have a left lumbar curve, then again reach up as you inhale, and exhale, lean. So with the whole body from the waist, you lean to the left and a little bit back. If you have right thoracic and left lumbar, you do this, but you keep lengthening the left ribs up as you lean to the left and back. And we should feel a bit more here in the right psoas muscle as we do this. Breathe into that space. And if you ever have low back pain, this is a good pose to do, even every day. Especially if you find it hard right now, if you find there to be less space, more tension. Inhale, reach all the way up to center, and then exhale, release your hands down to the mat, to the blocks. Bring the right leg back. And from here, we're gonna lay down onto the back. So make sure that you have that belt with you, if you have it. Otherwise, don't worry. So if you have the belt, before laying down, maybe you want to prepare it. We're gonna close it into a big loop. like this. Then laying down. You want the metal thingy to be close to you. Now bring both of your feet into the loop, into the belt, and you want the ball of the foot to be there. Then lengthen your legs here. So maybe first one and then you insert the other one. So if you have one finger into this loop and your feet are more or less together, the loop should reach, the belt should reach more or less the beginning here of your groin. Then keep your left foot where it is, and you want to lift the right knee into the loop. Now, the tail here, the tail of your belt should be pointing down, whether it's on the inside or the outside of the thigh. That's okay, that doesn't matter. And you want to kind of close it a bit until you feel that it's holding kind of the leg into place here. You can place a second belt behind the right ball of the ball of the right foot here. Either way, you lengthen the leg up, and you can use the belt or the hands to bring the leg closer to you. So you want to kick the heel up, and with the ball of the left foot, you kind of push slightly into the belt. Now, having this long belt, the loop of the belt here, to the thigh, it helps to kind of open up a little bit here the right waist if you have that left lumbar. So on this side at least, that's what it's doing. But it also creates in general length in the lower back. And what I find it to be most important here is that it avoids you from bringing the whole back with you as you do this movement. So it's limiting the movement to the hip. And yes, if you're used to do this pose without belts, you might notice that your leg won't probably come as close to your face as it's usually do. And that is exactly because we are limiting the movement to the hip. So it kind of gives you an indication of how much you were bringing the back with you before. And if you don't have this belt, you can just do this pose anyways. Just make sure that you're kind of rooting down the sacral bone onto the mat, mimicking the pose. My leg is shaking like crazy today. And then exhale, slowly bend the leg, but before lengthening it, grab your loop here with your hands so that you can then lengthen the right leg into it, place the ball of the foot to the inside of the belt, and then just shift the belt here towards the left hip so that you can lift the left knee into the loop, into the belt. Adjust the loop if you need to. And then from here, lengthen the the left leg up. If you had that second belt, you can use that, or you can just use your hands to bring a leg closer to you. What you want to avoid is to lift the shoulders up off the mat. You don't always think of this, but lengthening the back of the legs creates a lot of space for the low back. And sometimes having tight hamstrings can be the reason for low back pain. So together with the other pose we just did, this is also a great pose to do every day, especially if you find it to be hard or tight. And then exhale, slowly release, bend the leg, grab a hold of your belt here, and you can remove it completely. Just put it aside, you won't need it anymore. Now we're gonna do one last pose, which is a yin pose. We start this pose like if we were to stay in Shavasana, but with our feet together. And we're gonna begin with opening up the left side. So if you have a right thoracolumbar or right thoracic curve, start walking the upper back, only the upper back, to the right. From here, bring your arms overhead. With the right hand, grab a hold of your left wrist and maybe open up a little bit more. Then you want to relax here. And just breathe into the whole left rib cage. Make sure that you're not rolling onto the right hip. Your left glute is still glued onto the mat. If you only have a left lumbar curve, you could stay here. It's at the center. Bring your arms overhead anyways. Maybe grab a hold of your elbows or interlace your fingers as you prefer. If both of those options are tight, you can bring your arms in a cactus shape and adjust however it feels best for you. And then just place the right ankle on top of the left foot, well, the left ankle. And focus on breathing into the right waist. So relaxing into the pose, breathing deeply, consciously. Now if you have a right thoracolumbar, meaning you have a long or longer curve to the right and nothing to the left, you can stay here and advance a little bit by placing the left ankle on top of the right. Maybe if you can, open up a bit more. Now if you have a left lumbar though, start to release your arms. Come back to center if you aren't already. Then we're gonna walk the legs only to the left. So you see my back is still at center, in the center here. Then you can again bring your arms overhead if you want. Maybe this time grab a hold of your elbows instead, or again interlace the fingers. You're welcome to just stay here. If you want something more, it doesn't have to happen right now, maybe in a few breaths. You can place the right ankle on top of the left one. And now we try, from here we are trying to breathe into the right waist. Again, just relax here. Focusing on directing your breath to the concave side of your curves. And then gonna start to release. So start with your arms, bring them along the body. If you crossed your ankles, uncross them. Walk your legs back to center. Now bend your legs, bring your knees to your chest. Maybe just stay here, giving yourself a hug. If it's comfortable for you, maybe you choose to rock slightly, gently from side to side. And then place the feet down onto the mat. Bring your hands with the thumbs, point to the inside here, at the root of your thighs. So your thumbs are basically placed onto the groins. Now, make sure that you're not to the side of the thighs, but you're on top of them. So your shoulders are a bit pulled up towards the ears. Now we're gonna inhale, pull the shoulders up even more, and then exhale, start to push down with your hands onto the thighs, rolling your shoulders down. Keep breathing. So you're basically creating some space in the low back here with the help of your hands. Hold a firm grip. And then we're gonna start to release slowly. We're gonna walk the feet out, but keep the legs bent. Walk the shoulder blades underneath you, slide them down towards the feet, maybe lifting the pelvis to point the tailbone down. Find your position here. Turn the palm of your hands up and close your eyes. Let go of controlling the breath in any way. And start to relax your whole body. Stay with your breath. Stay with your body. Present and aware in this moment. We can start to walk the feet closer to each other. Turn to the right side of your body for a moment. And then use your left hand to push yourself up into a seated position. You can take a moment here if you want, set an intention. And I thank you for joining me on the mat today. Namaste.